Hello, everyone. Welcome to Changing the Narrative, where we look to have different discussions around the things happening in the world today. I'm Godwin,
And I'm Jay.
and thank you very much. So today we have something totally different for you guys. We have an amazing guest who's obviously been doing a lot of work in the community. Um, you know, doing a lot of work in the community in terms of empowering the youth. And this episode was more talking about delivering key messages and delivering stories and powerful impact stories and how best to do it. And so we decided to bring our guest Fusion. So I'll leave you, Jay, to do the proper introduction.
Thanks.
That's the intro, pre-intro. All right.
Yeah.
I feel honoured. I get two introductions.
You will.
All right.
And we'd like to say a big thank you to our sponsor, African Chica.
Welcome. We have our special guest today, who is Alain Fusion Clapham, friend of mine from a long time-ish. And how do I best describe Fusion? Fusion is what we call, or he likes to proclaim himself to be, a transformative storyteller. What does that mean? Well, he's going to tell you more about that soon. But I mean, the good thing about him, he's interviewed really prolific people like the likes of Beyonce, Dr. Dre, Stan Lee, bless his soul. Alongside that, very, very much been a leader in the community, also a teacher in the community, and also a key founder of a organisation that tells very positive stories called BMT Time. But I could talk for ages, but I'm going to introduce you to Fusion.
It's a good thing you can talk for ages. This is your podcast. I am your guest. I feel very welcome. I got two introductions that is completely different. It's appreciated. And yeah, I hope, that transformative storytelling is something which people can understand a bit better. But it's something I've come to call myself because I believe the stories we tell about ourselves and the stories we hear in the world shape our lives.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to mold those stories is something that I'm excited about doing. Yeah.
Fantastic. And so we're going to go into some fun bits. So before we even go on to that, we always like to start our podcast explaining a little bit about our views on these kind of subjects. So Godwin, we'll start with you. What's your view on telling stories?
I think we had a conversation about this prior about the best way to disseminate stories, especially if they're positive and if there's stories which are going to be impactful for people. And myself and Jay had a bit of a disagreement because
As we do.
Controversy. All right.
Bad cop, good cop.
because she obviously believes that the best way to sort of reach the youths of today is via social media. But I'm someone who's of the other side, which I believe obviously being around, I have lots of nephews and nieces and younger ones and family members who are quite young. Their use of social media isn't to look for sort of the positive messages.
Sure.
It's more as a sort of like entertainment tool or something to pass time. So I'm more of someone who believes in going out in the actual community and engaging with those people in person. And because at that point in time, you have their attention for a specific time period. And once you have the attention for that time period, you're able to impart better stories and better knowledge onto them. But where is social media where they have 10 seconds? Oftentimes they've forgotten what you've said because there's 500 other things talking about the latest trends that they need to do, the latest trainers and etc., whatever it is that they're interested
So who won? All I care about is who won the argument.
I'm gonna put my hands up and discuss my side of the story because he's given an element of my side.
I like that when it's like, she tried to do this. It's like, you're never going to give a good case for your argument.
Yeah.
All right.
So for my argument, my reason for saying social media is a good way for telling those stories. You've got that right. You've got the younger generation who will go on there and like literally whiz past. But you've got to think the quickest way to get somebody's attention is something that they use often.
Sure.
And social media has been a tool that we understand. Anybody generally under the age of 21 will have some sort of social media platform. So things have been happening in society, but maybe they wouldn't have listened to the news because the news is too negative, etc., etc. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they will whiz through it, and the attention span is short, but you still can get messages across if they're relayed in a way that will resonate with them. And that's why I think it's a good way to get their message across, because you can touch on an element of a topic with them via social media. Might not necessarily keep their attention, but they might think, oh, oh, I didn't know the elections were coming up. Okay, so I've seen somebody's made it lighthearted and funny.
Yeah.
Actually, now somebody's going to come talk about it at school. Let me listen. That's where I'm coming from with that.
Okay, so you're using it as like sort of a
precursor, a pre-sequel,
a pre-sequel to the main event.
Exactly.
I mean, that's interesting because that's why we have Fusion here. Yeah. What do you think about this? And
I think you'll find a lot of the time, I will often say when I listen to a good debate, is there truth on both sides? You're actually both right. You know, no one can create social media without referencing the real world.
Yes.
And the real world exists in tandem with social media. So why are we picking? We're creating some content. I had to physically come here. We're creating content. We're going to have a hangout. We're going to chill. We're going to get to know each other better. But only maybe 20 seconds will move somebody's emotions or thoughts on social. So we have to do both. We live in a quantum reality where two things can happen simultaneously. You can have an online experience and a physical experience both at the same time. This is an example of that. So I think we like debating.
We do.
We just like winning. I like defeating people, you know, whether it's musically, you know, I've been in beat battles or whether I like MC battles, I like dance-offs. I love debates, but what are we fighting for? If we're fighting for the love of the children, we're fighting to connect with young people, then we must use all tools available to engage. 100%. And that's where the victory has to be. Not between me versus you, it's us versus the challenges.
That's interesting. That's an interesting take. That maybe I haven't thought about before. So
there you go.
A lot of reflection to be had. And I think just before we obviously go more into the crux of the discussion we're gonna have today, we just wanted to know a bit more about yourself.
Okay.
Obviously we've read out your bio and, you know, sort of done a quick introduction for yourself. But we also like to ask our guests, you know, what's a fun fact about yourself that you would like people to know about you? So if they come up if they walk in the street and they say, "Oh my God, that's Fusion. That was a changing narrative. I remember you said this," and that resonated with me.
I don't know how the fun fact's going to help though. I mean, like, it's just a random fact. There are lots of things. I mean, being half Filipino, I don't think is a fun fact. It's just the truth of me. It's just what I am. My mum's from the Philippines. A lot of people see me, especially as I do a platform about black culture and black men. They're surprised when Mumsy turns up and she's Southeast Asian. You know what I mean? So that's just inherently who I am. But I think my fun fact is I've got the reflexes of a ninja. And I don't overstand how that works. I could be going in the cupboard to get a particular seasoning and I'll go for the Himalayan salt and it will nudge something. Before I know it, I've caught something that's flying out of the cupboard. And I haven't even thought about it.
That's interesting.
I was at a restaurant the other day and somebody literally knocked something and the spoon fell out of a cup and I caught it while talking to my friend.
Oh, wow.
And it's just, and the woman looked at me, I looked at her and I carried on talking to my friend and gave her the spoon. It's like, don't tell anyone about the powers. The woman was like, you're mad. Like, so it's not useful in any way unless I play squash or badminton. But it's a fact.
Yeah, that's funny because I had a similar experience in one of my old workplace. So we went to play rounders and I obviously bowled. Someone batted it and I went like that and caught it.
Yeah.
And everyone's looking at me like, "Oh my God, you're so cool." And I was like, this would never happen again. Don't think I'm going to do this again. Like, I'm not that good. But you seem to have honed this skill.
I embraced it. You denied it. You could be like Rounders Olympiad gold medal. You wouldn't even be here.
Yeah, that is
You'd be traveling the world playing
now,
Rounders.
I'll still be here for you guys. Someone has to deliver the message.
Yeah, but I feel, like all jokes aside, I love looking into history. And one of the things that I discovered is that the Kemetic world that we originate from, the original apprentice system was a system where every child was born and that the elders would look to see what initial obvious gift they had.
Yes.
If they could get up immediately and spin around, maybe they were a dancer. If they spoke early, maybe they were an orator or a wordsmith. And then an elder would be assigned to that child and they would then grow them in their excellence. So for me, it's just like, why not? Why can't I have reflexes of a ninja and get trained into become like a black ninja? And I could do that part-time. You know what I mean? So I just think we should, look at the excellence. My platform, BMT Stories, we have a child who's 2 years old who was on America's Got Talent, and he was doing all kinds of equations and working out mathematical
I've seen that.
challenges, which I couldn't do as a grown man. And this child at 2 was doing that. And there was so much praise. They got millions of plays and views. But also some people going, the Asian youths can do that with their eyes closed, or that's not that impressive. Some grown ups said, I could do that. It's like, yeah, but you're missing the point. He's 2.
He's 2, yeah.
So there's a lot of hatred on our excellence, and there's a lot of our own, well, if he's not going to be a lawyer or a doctor, why should I care he's good at art? You know what I mean? Yeah. So we should really
I think
appreciate
that's changing. That's changing a lot, though.
What do you mean?
Like, in terms of if it's not a lawyer or a doctor, because I remember even my parents, when I was younger, they're like, go to school, learn. Go to school, learn. And then I remember I was sat in the kitchen one day and we're just discussing footballers' wages with my mum. And then she goes, oh, the footballers made that much? Why did you go into football? And I was like, Mom, my curfew was 7 p.m.
It was never going to happen.
That's when training started.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I was not going to be a footballer.
Man, with those ninja reflexes, you could have bought her a house early. Like, she missed out,
I probably
man.
need to come to dinner with you because on your opposite side, I am the klutziest person ever.
We won't eat. I'll just be catching stuff.
Literally,
while we're talking.
It'd be like, she dropped that again? Oh my gosh, there you go. So that is actually a very good skill to have because, some of us don't have it at all. I can't catch rounders balls either.
You can't.
And I'm a real foodie as well. Like, I love cooking. Like, I love, my mum's recipes are from the Philippines. She married a West Indian, so she learned that. And then in the NHS, she learned all the recipes from around the world because all the aunties would get together, share biryani recipes, Jamaican rum cake recipes. So she would be Olympic level chef for me. She would
star chef.
All the stars, man. She's amazing.
Yeah, I remember you did that when you did that BMT event.
Yeah,
that was the food was
it
was actually it was amazing.
I mean, we'll talk about it, but I believe in both of your narratives. We create online content, but when we do together events, physical events, I try and make them memorable. Yeah. So it's not often you get to eat a parent's food. So creating a space where my mum could cook, I cooked as well, and we prepared food for all of the people who'd made last year special for my brand. Okay. And I'm like, that's how much I care about you, that we would give you the best of us. Yeah. So that's for me more special than catering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've gone into a fun fact. I'm going to ask you an icebreaker question.
Okay.
I think we've broken the ice, but hey.
We broke the ice on a long staircase coming up, man. That was,
Right. So, tell me one of the craziest fashion trends that you rocked.
Craziest fashion trends. There's a whole bunch, man. I've survived many fashion epochs. The one leg up thing. I don't know if you know.
That's the South London road man.
Up one leg.
One leg roll up. That's that's not even a fashion trend. That's a statement. That's an OG statement, man.
Oh my gosh, was that with sagging as well?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, baggy jeans, absolutely. I used to cock the hat to the side. I used to have, when I used to do a hip-hop show, I used to rock the baseball hat and I used to tilt it slightly to the side. Yeah. And then my mum came up to me and said, listen, because of you, my child rocks the hat slightly to the side. I was like, rah, I'm actually setting trends out here. So I did that. What else? Dungarees, you know what I mean?
That's not crazy. I'd wear dungarees now.
Yeah. But there was a time.
But that's interesting because you even spoke about baggy jeans, and I remember in like early to late 2000s, you couldn't be caught dead with a baggy jeans outside on the street because people just looked down on it.
Yeah, like when Machino came out and Visu, that was over.
Yeah.
Like, everyone started raving garage, and then everyone's wearing the straights.
Yeah.
So I was loyal to hip hop, so I just couldn't go to the garage rave. You can't go there with baggy jeans. They wouldn't let you in.
Yeah, because you just see that and people be like, wait, what? Like, what is that? What are those?
But I never wore the triple X t-shirts. Like there was the whole thing when man was wearing.
the 90s.
Never.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Triple extra
No, I
large.
couldn't.
I'm small. I'm short, so I couldn't. I'll just look like my dad borrowed it to me.
So ghost out Pac-Man.
That will never happen to me. So yeah,
Stay in your lane, innit? You got
yeah.
not everything fashion is for each person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. What about you, Godwin?
I think it's the baggy jeans stuff because I think when we're younger, we didn't really have like a choice on our outfits. It's your mom that goes shopping and she'll bring it back for you and you'll have to wear it or you walk around naked.
Your mum made you wear baggy jeans. She's a G
got.
for that.
She just got it for us and we have to wear it. It wasn't a made you. It's like it's there if you don't want
Respect,
it.
I hear that.
If you don't want it,
Yeah.
you go work and make your own money to get your own clothes. But yeah, that was it.
Well, you were like a swing beat kid, like R&B and Blackstreet and thing. I don't know. I see that in your past.
I'm more. My musical taste is quite like varied. It just depends on my mood, really. So I'm someone who's really critical of music and loves good music as well. So
Yeah.
I take that back. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
It's just broad church. All right.
It was my mom's fault.
And mine, I would say mine.
You need to get Mumsy on the podcast. Like
we
you need
do.
to one of the future episodes.
I think.
Yeah,
we
we'll get
definitely
around.
do.
Get her on.
Mine, being a female, was I didn't like you these guys, but like a couple of years ago, there was like these platform like heels that we used to wear.
Yeah.
Like platform at the front and platform at the back. And
They weren't see-through, were they? Weren't.
Oh no, the see-through ones are still in. Those. Anyway,
Okay.
no, and
another show, right? Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I know where you go with that one. Anyway, so basically, you'd wear them, but because they had so much height at the back, so many women would fall or buckle, like literally you'd walk and you buckle your leg and fall. I've been out on some nights out. Yeah,
Man, bit messy.
What you do for fashion, innit?
Yeah, that's it. That's what we do for fashion.
And the cuts in the eyebrow, I did bust that.
Oh yeah, everyone did it.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
two slits.
Do you know how much I hated that?
Why?
I just don't. Anyway, I'll keep my thoughts. That's for another podcast.
we get the good barbers, two slits. And then I realized my eyebrows was fading. So I was like, this needs to stop.
You have to bail. You have to bail out at a certain time.
Eject.
That's
It's not for me anymore.
Yeah.
I think the next question we had for you as well was because obviously we're talking a lot about teaching, storytelling, imparting knowledge. So who was your favorite teacher in school, and how did he or she impact you?
Miss Fiadulu. I was saying to a class I was giving a presentation to, you will always remember your favorite teacher and probably your worst teacher.
Yeah.
Those two, and no matter what age in life, you'll remember. So Miss Fiadulu was amazing. She was the art teacher, and art teachers are just different. Now I look at it, they don't want to be teachers. They are artists who make our money. So she was out there. She was literally out there. There's a school building and there was a hut. And she had a hut where she did her art. So we had to come out of the school building and go to this hut and do the art. And she wasn't like all the other teachers. She was mad chill, really easy to get along with. And she just let you be you. And we would just paint. And I actually remember, because I still have the painting, one of my final pieces was like a kind of portrait. And it was in a room with a window. And I painted her.
Oh, wow.
And I thought to myself, raw, I would never think to sit for a student.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, she really channeled my passion for painting and art.
Okay.
And was the reason why I went to university to study art as well. Yeah.
That's interesting.
She was great. But her and Mr. Andrew Roby, he used to make the eyes for puppets on a show called Spitting Image. And it blew my mind because I was like, rah. So when you're not here, all those puppets on TV, you make the eyes for them. And it was my first realization that teachers don't just live in schools.
Yeah.
They actually have careers. So I carried that on. So when I became a teacher, I was a music maker, event manager, art producer, and teacher. And I let my students see the other side of me.
Yeah.
So they could get a holistic idea of who we were. But yeah, Andrew Roby and also Miss Fiadulu.
Okay.
For sure.
Fantastic.
I think for myself, was Mr. Pinay, who was my maths teacher. And I think for myself, it's more something that, obviously having kids now and going to school and speaking to teachers, something that has been lost a lot. Is sort of that pastoral care that teachers used to give back in the day. and I don't know why, the main reason why that is. But this is something that he was obviously really like another dad to me in the school. Like in the school, they made sure I never got in trouble. Made sure I was staying out of trouble and doing my homework, etc., etc., and keeping me guided, but not in like a strict way. Or you have to do it, but more in an encouraging way. And I think that's something that, you know, has really stuck to me, because in all my life I always look back. I'm like, imagine if my maths teacher, because I was not good at maths, I was terrible at maths, but I managed to get a B in GCSE. So, and that's testament to him, rather, because I remember when we're doing like the exams, and it was just like, oh, Godwin, why do you want to do the foundation course? You could do the higher course. And I was just like, oh, but I'm not really that good at maths. He said to me, listen, if you do the higher course, the highest you can get is an A star, and the lowest you could get is a C. If you do the foundation, the highest you could get is a C. So even if you do your best, all you could get is a C. So why not put yourself in a space where you have the opportunity to do better than the average? And yeah, that's literally why I got a B in maths.
That's amazing.
Yeah. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, so I would say from primary. So primary school, I had a teacher.
You
called
remember
Miss
your
Wynne.
primary?
Yeah,
you
I
know
remember
what's-
my primary
there's
school
something
teacher.
going
She impacted my life.
There was something
that
going around
much.
the other day that no one remembers their primary
Oh,
school
I remember
teachers.
my primary school
I
teacher.
don't remember my primary
She was
school
my
teacher.
primary school teacher, and you know what? It was just like she was a white teacher, but it was I've classed her as my second mum. She was like she used to make sure everybody was okay. Like, again, it was the whole pastoral care thing, so it was very much, you know, make sure everybody's okay. She would help. She would go out way above what she had to do as a teacher. She actually had love. You could see she loved. Do you know, we see those clips of those American teachers that go in and they hug the kids and they do this and they have their little secret. She was like that.
Yeah, you can't
She
do-
was that before
you
social
can't do
media.
that now.
You can't do that now.
You can't.
But-
That ship has sailed. Yeah.
But they don't allow that now. But I mean, you do see episodes of that happening, and then that can blow out of proportion. But I remember that, and she impacted my life so much. I can remember her from primary school.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Primary school, yeah, it was just like she adored every single child, and she took time. She'd sit down with them, ask them how they are, you know, help them with their subjects. Amazing teacher.
Love that.
Impacted my life.
We love
Yeah.
that.
Yes. So let's go on to the main part of why we're here. So, Fusion, please tell us about your world and how you've gotten to where you are today.
Wow, that's like such a broad, big question.
Exactly. So interesting to find out.
For me, it's just the creative pursuit of truth.
Okay.
In a nutshell. You know, from when I was 7, I was an artist. I was painting, and I didn't know what I was doing was unusual. I was painting landscapes. I was
At
painting.
7?
Yeah, oil paintings of
What?
landscapes.
7?
My mum
Wow,
still has
okay.
the painting, so it's crazy to look back now and to see myself as an adult looking back on the child. Because looking at that painting, it was a field with a path cutting through the field with a fence that was kind of like a rickety fence that was casting a shadow. There's a big tree. There's a sunset in the distance. There's an ocean. It's a detailed painting.
Wow.
And I'd never seen this place. It wasn't like I'd gone to the coast and came back. It was just something that was lodged in my imagination, age 7. So I kind of understood going from there that what I can imagine I could make.
Okay.
And my mum, you know, much like your teacher, your maths teacher, being celebrated or being encouraged takes you a long way. So my mum would put my paintings in her office where she used to take blood as a phlebotomist.
Okay.
And people would always comment on my art. So she'd always come back and say, people always say how good you are. They love your art. So it gave me a sense of belief that anything I could imagine I could do. And I've never stopped believing that. It's got me into a lot of heartache. It's got me into a lot of transformative opportunities. It's got me into big spaces with corporations and institutions. It's helped me win over some very apathetic youth. It's earned me a lot of money. It's lost me money. But it's been my compass, you know, pursuing the manifestation of things, you know. So,
Have you ever exhibited your work?
No.
Why?
Why? Because, again, I think just giving you a frame, by the time I got to 17, 18,
Yeah.
I gave up art.
Oh wow.
I gave up because I just hit the wall. You know, I got into uni. I was studying art. This was the dream. And I looked around across the whole campus. There wasn't another black person. Not in my class.
Okay.
Not in my year. On the whole campus. You can make like a kind of Netflix movie about the one black kid on campus. And
Get out.
it was, yeah. Get out the art edition for real. You know. And at the first like week or two, you're like, I'm just gonna settle in and get on with it. But after a while, it was just freaking me out.
Yeah.
All the artists we studied were Cézanne, Picasso, Rembrandt. You know, there were never any black artists. You know, and everything I wore, from my trainers to, I had these baggy red cords, these crazy fresh trousers. In the hood where I grew up in Tottenham, I was fresh to death. By the time I got to uni, people was like, what? Who? How? Where are you from? You know, and after a while, it was very uncomfortable, and I knew I didn't belong there. And I literally remember by the end of it, it's quite sad actually looking at that boy, because I was studying Black Panthers.
Okay.
By the end of that, I was reading Eldridge Cleaver. I was listening to hip hop and finding these stories about racism. And my end of year project, I had taken newspaper cuttings of all stories about black boys, black men who had been put in prison for multitude of years for mugging, had been victimized by racist police, and I cut them all out and I made a self-portrait of myself. And there was no pastoral care. No one was like, is he okay? Like, clearly I was not okay. And it was called the Conspiracy Calendar. And I made this face 12 times. And each month I had a story about how racism and how oppression was shaping and affecting my life. And no one helped me, man. I was just swimming in the deep. So they offered me a full-time university place for the next 3 years. I said, I can't. I applied to 2 unis, couldn't get in. And I was cut adrift, man. For a whole year, I was just smoking weed, getting up late, and trying to imagine a life in hip-hop. But as an 18, 19-year-old kid on pirate radio, there was no path.
Yeah.
So I really struggled that year, you know.
But you came out the other side.
Well, I'm still here.
You came out the other side. That's the positive story.
I fell in love with hip-hop, and hip-hop saved my life.
Yeah.
You know, hip-hop was the empowerment tool.
Yeah.
And then listening to Public Enemy, listening to Big Daddy Kane, listening to NWA. You know, when I heard F the Police coming through my headphones, it's like, can you say that? That's how I feel. You know, and Big Daddy Kane had this incredible lyricism, and Public Enemy was so militant. So for me, I was like, okay, someone's telling me it's okay to feel the way I feel.
Yeah.
Someone that, talking about changing a narrative, someone actually gave me a narrative that my parents were trying to fit in, couldn't give me. That my local kids who I grew with didn't know the other worlds I was going to, and those kids who saw me in the other world didn't know where I came from. But hip hop just gave me everything.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I look back on the whole journey. I'm like, okay, so Big Daddy Kane inspired me. Me and Big Daddy Kane sat down and I interviewed him.
Oh wow!
So I was like, wow, I'm getting to talk to this guy here who shaped my life. And then Public Enemy, I got to sit down with both Flavor Flav and Chuck D. And Chuck D went on the radio and said, yeah, I met this guy called Fusion. I want to big him up and blah, 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 blah. So like, right, my heroes are recognizing me. And then I was out in LA with MTV and I'm playing like pool with Dr. Dre. And I get to interview Dre from NWA.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, hang on a
profound.
minute.
That's the time. Yeah.
Imagining things and the power of imagination and how that's gotten you so far ahead. And I think it's something that we want people to take out of this, because it's like you know, there's, you know, in the world we live in now, there's things like manifestation and which is obviously similar as well. So it's like, people, if you imagine things and if you believe in yourself and if you believe that that's something you can do and you don't give up on it, it's something that you can essentially achieve. And even meeting your heroes, as they call them, you know, quite early or young in your years through the work you were doing, that's impactful, and that's something we want people to see more.
That's it.
It's like, you know, you can do this, but then, as you said, when there isn't that, if there wasn't that NWA playing on the radio, how does your path change? Do you understand? Like, how does your path change from that point on? Because then you're not as inspired as you once were. You wouldn't see someone that you resonated with. And that's what we're trying to create here, which is like the resonance. I'm bringing guests like yourself on it to sort of be like, this is people you can resonate with in whatever field you're in and whatever you're doing with your life. Because I think the difficulty in the education system, and something you touched on as well earlier, is that everyone wants to be put in a box. Like, you need to be in this particular box, otherwise you won't thrive. But there's so many avenues now.
There's different ways to do it.
So many.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think, and then a really, really important thing, I think, for all of us here and people that listen and, watch the podcast, is the element that you said, it's okay to get down. It's okay to, be at a stage in your life where mentally you felt challenged. And I think a lot of, especially black males, because we're going to go into your story of BMT and stuff, struggle with that and struggle to get out of the other side. But your story's been really positive and enlightening to show that, yeah, it's okay. We all go through stages, male, female, whatever. We go through a stage in our lives where we think, we're not where we want to be, or this direction I've taken, is it the right one for me? But, that story you've just given us just now, just even touching on your journey so far and giving us that, there was a stage where you were like, right, I don't want to get out of bed, I don't want to do this. And you actually came out of the other side. It's so powerful.
Which a lot of people feel as well, because it's not every day. Even us doing this podcast, there's some days where we've had to push things forward and be like, oh my God, do we have to? Is it today? Is it today? Is it tomorrow? But sometimes.
But where does the consistency come from for you?
For ourselves.
For the days you don't want to do things, for days you don't feel 10-10.
I think I said, in terms of, if I just put in this podcast, in terms of this podcast, I said to Jay that we're doing something that's bigger than us.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when you believe in your purpose, that your purpose is bigger than you, then that pushes you to do things even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Because you believe that what we're doing now, we're just here vibing with you, having a conversation. And to us, it's like, oh yeah, we're doing a podcast episode, we're putting it out. But we don't know who we're going to touch or
you're going to impact somebody from your story itself.
Yeah.
This discussion we're having.
Yeah, and that's what keeps us going, because it's like that would touch someone in a way that moves them. And even if we touch one person, that's...
See, I struggle with that.
Okay.
Go.
Like, we, by virtue of being us, will always inspire people. Even in times of slavery, when blacks were on plantations, even in our pain, our song was inspirational.
Yeah.
We weren't singing to make anyone on a horse feel better.
Yeah.
We were singing plans of freedom or songs to get us through the day. But just by virtue of who we are, even our melanin is magnificent. There's a thing called the Melanin Conference that they hold, where Europeans study our skin that we take for granted. So I'm not comfortable with the idea that by default, we will inspire. We have to inspire by design, not default. There has to be tremendous intentionality. Just by virtue of us being here, surviving that middle passage and the destruction that continues, we are inspirational. But what are we doing with that fuel? There's a real lack of direction.
So that's the question.
If you were a doctor,
Yeah.
and I was sitting here as a potential patient, and you said to me, and let's say there's 100 of us in a waiting room, if I can help one person today, I feel like I've done something. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm like, yo, if one person leaves out of your office going, oh, I feel good, I'm out, because you're done.
Yeah.
I want to help 100 people. And I want to know why I didn't if I failed. So we got to set the bar a lot higher for the thing which we call transformation. No, the stories of the shepherd. If one sheep's missing, he's going to go close the pen and look for the sheep. Oh, well, there's just one missing. So we've got to invert that equation and be very intentional about transformation and care, because we're an emotionally led people. And quite often what happens is our decision-making is based on emotion. And we really have to be quite scientific or mathematical about how we transform things. You know, water boils at 100 degrees. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't boil at 97 or 58. It boils at 100. The transformation happens at a particular point. And for us to get free, it can't just be a feeling or an effort. It has to be an intentional outcome. And we're not free because we're not focused on how we collectively get free.
See that, and like listening to both of you, I kind of understand where you're coming from and understand where you're coming from. But for me, it's like we're stuck in the middle. So yeah, I get the whole thing you're saying. Yeah, if we inspire one person, and you're saying, yeah, well, we should be inspiring 100 people, but there is a lack of that kind of viewpoint right now that out there in society. If I'm honest, if you go and speak to a group of people, which I do on a regular basis because I like to talk, people do say, there's not enough motivation, or they won't be inspired by certain things when we should be. It should be like part of the story you're saying that should happen, but that's not happening enough. So I kind of get what you're saying. Yeah. If you inspire that one person, but you're saying, yeah, it shouldn't be like that. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be like that. In some rooms, it isn't like that, but in some rooms, it's very much the kind of where Godwin's coming from. So we've got to get to that space where we're pushing it totally in the direction of everybody's inspired all the time.
As well, to touch on that, oftentimes is, as you said, if the doctor said, for example, if I can help 100 people, which was a great analogy, and, you walk out, but it's like sometimes people you have to keep doing things to get people to the stage where they're ready to accept whatever treatment, for example, you're giving to them.
All right. That's why I love the conversation.
There you go. Yeah, that's why we have these conversations.
You have to get them to that stage. And by doing this...
See, this is it. Yeah. This is because I don't want... There's so many podcasts. There's so many shows. I don't want to waste nobody's time. Like, we're going to cut straight to
it. That's what we're here for.
Right? Your dominion, your power is only based on your own agency.
Yeah.
You have to study your craft. You have to move with that intentionality. That 7-year-old who painted the landscape, only he can believe he can do it.
Yeah.
My mum can frame and hang it, but I have to paint it. You as a doctor, you have to prescribe the correct thing for that patient. Now, if they don't take it, it's out of your hands. So if I give everyone 100 people the most accurate prescription specifically for them, doesn't mean they'll all survive, but it's out of my hands. And then we can keep it pushing. But if you're subpar in your performance and only a few people can extract value from it, that's where the flaw lies.
Yeah.
You've got to be the best intentionally at whatever you present in the world.
Yep.
And a lot of people, it's the follow fashion thing. Well, lockdown happens. Everyone, you go, Amazon couldn't sell mics quick enough. People get on there.
Let's go on the podcast. Let's make a podcast.
People were like, Amazon, Jeff Bezos was like, I'm nice. Everyone's going to broadcast. But if everyone's broadcasting, who's listening?
That's the thing.
Who's listening?
It's that's good as well. Because we went to the couple weeks ago. Yeah, we went to the podcast show. And we're speaking to a few people, and they're like, a lot of podcasts die really early because obviously people suddenly start to realize that, A, it's not what they want to do long term, and B, it's not converting as much as they want it to convert. And that's why when I was iterating and speaking about like when you believe in your purpose, it will get you out of bed, and that's why oftentimes people struggle to, achieve what they want to achieve or believe in themselves because they don't believe in what it is they're getting out of bed for. And you've got to find that reason.
Sure.
You've got to find it on a day to day. And sometimes it's difficult. And sometimes you like, what is the point? Things happen and, we get hiccups. Even in this podcast, sometimes we get hiccups. I remember episode 1, half the recording of the sound on the mic went off, and that was a
life.
Yeah, and that was the first episode, and they were like, "Oh my God, should we just give up here and there?" And it's easy, but once you put yourself in that position, I said, you know what, we're doing this for a reason that's not for vanity and
not just to sit down and
talk. And myself and
Jay
Jay said about this, like we're not naturally people who are in the limelight or want to be in the limelight.
Sure.
Like I say this, if you go on my Instagram page, it's literally like 10, 20 pictures because I'm not always doing things like that. But I'm taking myself out of that comfort zone to do this because it inspires people and it touches people, and there's going to be people who would have conversations, who then have conversations, who then have conversations. And from one person goes to 5, the diagram where you go 1, 2, and you keep multiplying down and down. And through that way, more people start to wake up to the reality of life.
Even, the whole thing about the podcast and starting it and stuff like that. And we've had guests on so far. And I think the interesting thing for me is that somebody came to me the other day and said, oh, wow, I didn't know this person's story. And I'm going to go now and listen to more about what this individual's done, because I didn't know they'd done this and hadn't done that. And actually, it really resonated with me, and I want to find out more. So, like you said, it's not just a case of sitting there and chatting.
Yeah.
People are getting inspired by things. As much as we like to say we sit there and we talk in front of a mic, it's more than that.
No, I don't doubt that. I mean, I wouldn't have come if I thought it was not valid. I'm wearing your clothing right now. If I wasn't here, I'd still be wearing it.
I know.
Yeah. And also, when I was younger and growing up in Southeast London, it was, there weren't really that many beacons and people that were black people that we can look up to, because you are essentially in a walled garden where all you see is your hood, or all you see is your block. And I remember the first time I got inspired was when when I was about 14, 15, went on like Gifted and Talented and went to Ernst & Young. And, Ernst & Young is in London. The old building was in London Bridge. And it's like this really tall skyscraper. And I was there on like the 20th floor or whatever, with obviously people from my class. And that inspired me, like, wait, there is more than, just what I see on a day-to-day, just going to school and going back home. And that's why we're doing this, to showcase people who are actually doing things that are considered amazing, but they're not really having the spotlight on them, or having the platform to say this, because then someone else who's looking at it will be like, oh my God, I can get into X by doing Y. Because it's easy for us to say to young people, for example, and I'm sure you experience this as well. It's easy to say to young people, "Oh, you can be great. You can do this. You can be inspired. You can do X." But when they don't have someone to look up to, and all they see is whatever the media is pushing for them, as that is the epitome of success, is a difficult thing.
Taking it back to you though, Fusion. So you've kind of taken us to like your early teens, early 20s, and you talked about sort of getting into hip hop and that inspiring you, and obviously meeting individuals that obviously managed to sort of speak to in later life. But tell us a little bit more from sort of your journey from there. What happened after that?
I think through hip hop, I got more into journalism. Because I wanted to release a record. That was my dream. I thought I would die a happy human being if I could make my own record, because all these guys are making these great songs and I'm a DJ. Maybe I could make a song one day. I don't know. So that wasn't an easy road. It cost a lot of money, took a lot of time to make a great song. So when I couldn't make it, what I did was realize I was good at English. So I applied myself to become a journalist.
Okay.
And that was how I got to meet my heroes. And then I got a job as a staff writer. And then from being a staff writer, this quiet kid who's really good at writing, he looks kind of cool as well, apparently. And then all of a sudden MTV want to do a TV show about hip hop. And they get all the journalists to go in front of the camera and talk. Now, we all look terrible on the camera because no one had trained. There was no explanations. Yeah. One guy, God bless him, he's doing his thing. He's a big man in the thing now, but his eyebrows would go up and down when he was talking, and you couldn't listen to him. You just watching his eyebrows move. And I was like, you don't do that when you normally talk, bro. That's stress, right? Other people there kind of looking around. It was all a bit weird, but I did it with my friend, and we were there chatting to the camera, and it was just bants because me and my friend were just like what we're into, and somehow we just cut through the noise. And MTV were like, those guys are interesting.
Yeah.
So they messed up the footage. So don't feel bad if your first podcast went a bit left.
Oh, wow.
They messed up the first filming thing. So they had to come and interview us again. So now we were like, it's whatever, innit? So I showed them a rooftop where I knew we could do an interview, and it was nicely shot, did our thing. It was super relaxed. And they were starting to get this idea we were good. So they offered us eventually a trip to, I think it was to Dublin. And I was like, great. you know, because I was a hustler, so I'd already used my powers to write about the launch of MTV Base because I was the editor of this small magazine.
Okay.
So I got to interview the head of MTV Base, a guy called Peter Good, amazing guy. Trevor Nelson, we spoke to him, June Sarpong, etc., etc. So I thought their big thank you was to fly us out to Dublin and do more coverage. And they're like, don't bring your camera, don't bring your dictaphone, you're our special guests. I ain't never had anyone make me a special guest. You know what I mean? I felt I must have done something. So we flew out and we went to the MTV Music Awards. I think Mariah Carey was there and everyone was there. And then we pulled up in a people carrier. And there was this Asian lady, Angie Ganga, and then Lindsay Wesker, this white guy with a bald head. They opened the van up. So I got this Asian lady, it looks like she's media, and the bald-headed white guy looks like he's security. And me and my boy jump out of the van, and everyone's like, ah! They all screaming. And then me and my boy, I don't know who they think we are. But let's just go with it.
Let's go with it.
So we're there, people pulling out our clothes, screaming at us, and we're cutting through the crowd. It's getting a little bit crazy. Like these Irish kids are getting mental, right? So we cut through the crowd, and we're in the hotel. You can see them at the window screaming. I looked at my friend and said, that was our 15 minutes of fame. We've had it.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it. We're good. And we got dressed to go back out again. And now the girls are screaming, kiss me and all kinds of madness. I'm just like, give her a kiss in it. Because like, otherwise she can think you're hating on her. So I'm just like, rah, this is mad. So we end up going to a hotel. But long story short, MTV offered us a gig as TV presenters.
Okay.
0 training. And we did a demo. And then we did the show. And the show was broadcast. And it was bloody awful. We had no training.
Yeah.
It was so bad. We got loads of hate mail. I said, don't worry about it. Don't read any of the emails.
Forget about it.
You just jog on. You'll be fine. And over a period of months and months and months, we carried on doing the show every week. And it was bad. Like, I didn't know what to do. So if me and you were doing the show, like what you're supposed to do, tip for anyone who wants to do TV, is if you're doing a link, don't just look around like bored, like, or you know what I mean? Look at the other person and nod when they're talking, and look at the camera and look at the person. So I'm there looking like I'm waiting in a dentist while you're talking. And then I'm sitting with my mum and my dad, and they're looking at me like, why are you... what's going on with you on the camera? So it was a baptism of fire. So every week I would study us. Yeah. And every week I would try and perfect something different.
That's the key.
And every week it was rubbish. no mentor. Important.
Yeah.
No one to help. Yeah. And then one episode, my friend called me up and he goes, yeah, I've been watching the show. I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, man. Oh. He's like, it's a bit techie, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. And I needed someone to be honest.
I was just about to say, didn't you need that friend to go to you?
I needed someone, not to hate, but to observe.
Exactly.
And to have some care. So he kind of gave me some, you know what I mean? Some encouragement. Yeah. And we broadcast the next show and he called me up. He goes, it's getting better, isn't it? I was like, oh. And that's all I needed. Yeah. See, just to know the needle was moving.
That's an important thing.
That was a breakthrough moment. I was going to quit because that's who I am. One of those people, it's not like I'm a quitter. I just know not everything that I do is meant for me. And I will never hold a space for someone else who might be naturally great or want it more than me. That's just my life mission. Yeah. Because we all hold a position. And don't ever hold a position where your heart ain't in it. Yeah. Or you don't have it. And someone could do it, but you don't know what you're going to do next. You're going to hold them back. Yeah. So I was going to dip, but he gave me the encouragement. And what happened about maybe 3 months later, him and his boys they were traveling Europe. They were a crew called Spread Love. They got into a car accident. And them boy ascended that day, like gone. Worst car accident. I remember getting the news while we were doing the show. And by this point, I was like, this is our show. So we dedicated a whole episode to them, you know, and we were able to play music in honor of them. And it was great because as much as it was painful, we built an audience around the whole of the UK. And we had to make them know our pain and our story is a hip-hop story. Yeah. It's a personal story and it's now your story. So it was really beautiful to honor him, you know what I mean? But yeah, Mark ESP is just one of those guys that has always helped shape my life and direction. Yeah. Because he was such a giving soul and inspired me to push through something very, very difficult.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's a really, really powerful story, you know. That's a really powerful story.
No, for real, man.
You know, and I think for me as well, that whole piece about sometimes people don't like. Let's put it as it is, criticism.
Yeah.
You know, when you're starting a journey and you don't know where you go, that guidance, because that's what fundamentally it is. That guidance is saying, well, you know what, you weren't doing this, or it wasn't engaging, or you didn't do that.
Yeah.
It's so important. It's just so beneficial. Some people can't take it, but if you want to grow in whatever craft you're doing, you need somebody to give you that hard knock and say,
oh yeah.
And it's easy, you know, when you have success really quickly for everyone to just surround you with the yes men.
Yeah.
And then the yes men just agree with everything you do. No one's actually giving you proper feedback to say, this is what you could do better. And there are haters, and that is true. There are people who just want to knock you down and criticize, but then even on our journey as well, we had people who reached out to us and said, oh, this X could be better and things like that. And we had to take a sit back and be like, okay, this is things we could do better, and these are things we can't change, and let's focus on the things we can change and the things that would be better for it. So now that is powerful.
That's fine, man. And haters can be helpful. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're quick to point out your flaws.
Yeah.
So you can go, okay, let me look into that, you know, for myself.
Yeah.
And then yes, people can be pretty dangerous.
Yeah. They're more dangerous than the haters, to be honest, because, you know, you could be walking into the fire and they'll just be like,
come on, continue.
Come on. And then when you're now in the fire, they're like, I wanted to say something, but I didn't know if you'd be upset.
Yeah, but truth speakers are the rarest, and you know that's why transforming storytelling is about truth speaking. And people have to withstand truth. Truth is transformative.
Yeah,
you know, you have to accept you don't know certain things, and someone's in your life because they may know something you don't know, and they may not speak it in exactly the framing and language that is your favorite form, but they're giving you that medicine.
Yeah.
You know, we're a diabetic culture because we love the sweetness. We love everything that feels and tastes good. But bitter gourd and certain vegetables, they're bitter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not always tasty, but they do the work. And in my life, I'm at that bitter gourd stage of my life where I will tell people the real.
Yeah.
But I also live it with them.
Yeah.
If something's not working, I'll rock with you till we get it fixed.
Yeah.
I'm not here to point it out and then dip.
Yeah.
But some people don't want to hear it because everywhere else is saying it's fine.
Egos,
It can be ego. I'm not saying no one shouldn't have an ego, but your ego should serve you and others. It shouldn't. You shouldn't be a slave to it. Journey-wise, I mentioned my friend Mark because it was a milestone for me to break through and go on from having an okay thing to winning Hip Hop Personality of the Year. For the same show that I couldn't do at the beginning. For that show to blossom into a trip to LA where we interviewed all the icons of hip hop, including Wu-Tang Clan. And then for that to all crash and burn.
Wow,
and this is the thing about life. I was giving a lecture the other day, and I think the key part of the lecture was things will go wrong that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And we live in a kind of me-centric world where I did something good happened.
Yeah.
I did this job, I got paid. I did this thing badly, I got told off. It's like, no, there's other forces.
Yep.
And they will shape your reality. You know what I mean? Like rain is, I don't make it rain. You know what I mean? In any sense of that word, like, I don't make it rain, but it can rain out there and that can affect my reality. So when seasons change in the media world and you're not the trending thing, someone decides we're going to cancel the show.
Oh, wow.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
All right? And then the rapper you work with decides economically taking the bag over splitting the bag is how he wants to roll. That becomes your reality. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
And then the website that earned 3 million that you became the editor of, spend the money in a way that doesn't give returns.
Yeah.
And then the .com bubble bursts as we have these up and downs economically.
Yeah.
The highest paid guy is going to go fairly soon. That was me. And I found myself, my lyric that I wrote was, I went from 45k to a P45 and I'm broke. You know what I mean? I should have saved some cash. I guess that's just life. I went from 45k to a P45 and I'm broke. And I was like, raw. All my dreams evaporated in the space of 6 months.
Wow.
And, you know, it was a tearful moment because I was just like, I have not done anything to deserve this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no scandal. I didn't misappropriate funds. I didn't get cancelled.
Yeah.
It just all crashed and burned and left me with nothing. And I had to rebuild from those ashes. You know, people talk about resilience, and I learnt my lesson in resilience and came back from that. So, longest story short, it was falling on my face and trying to work out if I still wanted to do this or whether I was going to go to civilian life. And I'd always have these photographs of me and this person. You know what I mean? Everyone's got that, well, back in the day, I used to do this. No way. Well, you used to go and hang out with my man and my man. It's like, yeah.
Back in the day, guys.
And I was like...
No one believes.
My motto, my motto is forward is the motion, the path's negotiable.
Yeah, okay.
So I was like, you know what? That is the past.
Yeah.
I still want in on this culture. I love it. I'll find a way back in. And I took small jobs at websites, TV platforms and different things. And I built those things into things. I became a teacher, built that into something. Went from being a teacher to launching a school. You know, went from helping this platform to this platform ended up on Sky TV. And then went from building this website to being in charge of special projects for an arts organisation and introducing Ed Sheeran on stage and, you know, building an industry seminar which helped the likes of Little Sims. And then I got a teaching job. You know, I flipped it into something. And I was like, this is me now. This is my chapter where I can take anything and make anything again.
Well, what made you, like you said, you obviously got to the bottom. So at what point and what made you decide, you know what, I'm going to continue on this path?
Instead of giving up altogether.
Yeah.
I felt robbed. I felt robbed. I was like, what's going to be my epitaph? What's anyone going to say about who I was?
Yeah.
He did good. Something bad happened. He quit. I'm like, Nagosa. You know what I mean? There's a force in this world that is counter to all the things that oppress us and hold us down. And I'm going to vibrate to the frequency of that force. I want my life to be about how people face adversity and plot a path through it, how they break ground. I had a song called Groundbreaker. How do I break the ground? How do I prepare the way for the next person to come along? And I'm a spiritual person of all walks. Like I was raised in Christianity, and that is very much my original map for how I got from understanding what spirituality is. I've studied bits of Buddhism, Kemetic, all elements. All those things have been conversations I've had and books that I've investigated. And what I love about the spiritual walk is that people often talk about the Christ, the Christos, Yeshua, the anointed one. Yeah. They don't talk about John. And what I love about John is he was the Baptist. And what John did was he baptized Jesus. How did he know? How did he know? Like, if he didn't know, it would never been recorded as that moment. So we have to realize that opportunities in their infantile state are some of the most powerful things. So when everything crash and mash up and burn, I'm like, where would the next thing lie?
Yeah.
Where would the next opportunity? If I had to reimagine everything, where would it be? And, you know, in the same way, like a John character would look at this new testament, this new prophecy, I would look at new things as new opportunities, whether it was MySpace at that time or whether it was this street DVD. Shout out to Ratty and Capo and those guys who flipped street DVDs into an incredible grime culture, and they lay foundations, you know, SBTV, again, taking YouTube. They were using new technologies, you know what I mean? Jamal was using new technologies to do the thing. Yeah. So that's me, you know. And now that BMT is a force in the world as storytelling, you know, we use the technologies of Instagram. We use what I learned through events management and what I learned through oration, education, public speaking to keep reaching people across the world in ways that can actually have meaningful and sustainable impact.
So tell us more about BMT, because you touched upon it. What is it about and what's the concept? And so if you just explain it as the best person possible to...
Okay, BMT, this is the honest, truthful story. I haven't really explained it to many people. It started off as a joke.
Okay.
All right. It was a one-off fun thing. There's an incredible woman by the name of Natalie Wade who had an organization called Small Green Shoots. Look them up. They do great stuff. She was the captain of the ship. She's very good at getting funding. So she heard me from when I was a teacher and getting a bit disgruntled and wanting to leave teaching because I didn't think there was any more I could do in that space. And if you ever sit with me for half an hour, I'll always rattle off 5 or 6 ideas that are just like out there, different, diverse, interesting. And people just listen, go, he's an interesting guy, and then they keep it pushing. She just listened and went away, and one day she came back to me and goes, you know that idea you shared with me? I was like,
which one?
Which one? We have all the thousands of ideas rattling around in Fusion's brain. She goes, the one about black men. You had this idea about black men and stories about black men. I said, yeah. Because when I got the funding for it, I was like, what do you mean? Because I just put an application bid in for you and it came through. So here's some money for you to come do the idea. It's National Storytelling Week. We've got a venue. We've got one day for you. Go and program it. I looked at the check.
Amazing.
I looked at the date. It's go time. So I took it upon myself to give it that 100% that we talked about. So I was like, how would I tell stories about black men that will be different? This is 7 years ago. So I was just like, right, everyday black men. Like, I know the heroes. We know the big names. But everyday men that I know are awesome. But they're often forgotten. They're often overlooked. So I called up 3 of my friends. I said, can I just sit down with you and just record a conversation about your life? 2 hours, they just talk your talk. And I learned so much about people I thought I knew. Kind of what we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
So I took those recordings of a guy called Carl, who was on the roads doing his thing, and then he looked at his life at a particular point. I remember he said he was holding his child, and he said he looked out the window and thought, can't. Got to change my life. Yeah. He's now a lecturer.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
He's a lecturer who travels the world, and, he's talking about psychology and he's doing the thing. Spider J, who was my mentor for music, I always see pictures of Bob Marley around the house. And I was like, well, I'll go on for the Bob Marley pictures. He goes, oh, yeah, I used to be like Bob Marley's, like, I used to ride with Bob. So Bob used to come to the UK and he would always help Bob navigate, like, 'cause he knew his way around London as a little kid.
Yeah.
And Bob trusted him. So he had a relationship with Bob. He was Lee Scratch Perry's band MD. And when Stevie Wonder was looking for a particular sound with a reggae kind of energy, he kept on hearing about Spider J. So he went to go and find Spider, and he booked Spider to come and play keys. So he's a humble guy. So I wanted to tell his story. And then my brethren from Ends, who talked about the hood. This guy, he's the mayor of Clapton, because he never leaves Clapton. He's Clapton, Murder Mile Clapton. No, I mean, not the new posh Clapton, Murder Mile Clapton. And he was from the bits. And me and him used to kick it. It's where I learned my black history, Ivan Van Sertima, John Hendrik Clark, all the master teachers. We used to sit and listen to tapes of the masters, blaze trees, listen to hip hop, and dream of a better life. And I went out into the world and he stayed in the hood. But he'd always give me the best clips, the best information. That was the food. So I want to tell his story of him never leaving Clapton, but Clapton becoming something else. And I took those 3 stories, I gave them to 3 people, including Doc Brown, a guy called Chris Preddy, and Justin. My guy Justin was one of the guys. And they wrote monologues. And they performed stories on stage of my friends' lives. And I never heard the stories until the show. My friends in the audience, they didn't know which stories were going to be told, and the audience didn't know what the show was about. It was a perfect mystery, but it was beautiful. And everyone was like, this show was incredible. I was the host, and I was doing black culture news stories, talking about a black surgeon who took a baby out of the womb before it was born, removed a tumor, put the baby back in the womb, and the baby was born healthy. And I was just like, what a good thing. What will I do next? My friend's like, nothing. You're going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And this in-joke called Black Man Time, which was my friend's idea to call it Black Man Time. And I thought, it's a show, cool, whatever. Yeah. It's funny. But it's come to mean black men will be on time when it's our time to tell our stories. And for everyone ever asks, if you come to our barbecue, we say 4:00. Don't come at 4.
Nah, don't.
And beg don't come at 3:30. They're not going to open the door. And you will be going to get some coal or some ice if you come at that time. But if you come 5, 6, we're bubbling. But we know for the middle class dinner party, if it's 7 o'clock. Don't get there at 7:30 because they'll be looking at you like, we've already had the starters, but you're welcome to join us. And you're like, I thought it was more of a casual, cultures for cultures, man.
Yeah. That's really interesting because obviously I've known you for some time and I didn't actually know the story behind BMT. And I always wondered to myself, why was it called BMT, as in Black Man Time? And I was like, what about us women? But actually now you explaining the story, it makes so much sense.
And it's great because I like, you had ITN, BBC, all these companies that just got kind of like these names that don't mean anything, but you know what they mean.
Yeah.
So with BMT, it's just, I wanted to go into corporate spaces or anywhere and no one would ask me what it was.
Yeah.
So the youngers will be like, huh?
The acronym.
Yeah, I love it. For a week or two, you can play that game.
Exactly. Let's go with the BMT. You don't actually.
Yeah, you lot called your company Sky. How is your thing the Sky? So you just like, what? Why is it called BMT? I said, what do you reckon? One kid got, it's big man things in it. I said, speak up. He goes, no, I didn't say nothing. I said, no, it's cool. And kid's thinking I'm gonna tell him off.
Yeah.
And he goes, I said your company's like big man things in it. I said, you're right. It's black men talking. It's black man time. It's big man things. It's billionaire, millionaire tycoons. You know what I mean? It's whatever I want it to be.
Exactly.
You know
whatever
what I mean?
space you want to be.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
So from there, cinema events, music events, spoken word events, screenings, launching Freedom is Like, where I had you as one of the guest speakers, launching the BMT Culture Hub, where we do events produced by us.
Yeah.
It's always about creating spaces for the conversation, changing the narrative, telling the stories online, and running an education program called Proud to Be, where we're proud to go into schools and help children of all cultures. It started off based on Black History Month. We had a theme called Proud to Be about 4 or 5 years ago now. And I was like, why do we keep throwing the themes away? Why can't we just keep them going?
Yeah.
Like a relay race.
Yeah.
So I kept it going. And guess what? We're in a time now with what's happening in the Middle East right now with Gaza. We've got the war in Ukraine. And there's children whose stories are being interrupted.
Yeah.
Their cultures are being reframed in really dangerous or negative ways.
Yeah.
And we give children the opportunity to say what Palestine means to them.
Yeah.
What being Russian means to them. What being, from Congo means to them. And it's been incredible to grow this program from a small seed to something much bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we have really gone around full circle and it's been really, really, really good to speak to you. And one of our main reasons to bring you in was obviously that this topic about sharing the transformative story.
Sure.
How, and obviously we gave our views at the beginning and we said we'd come back to you and circle back to you. Why did you call it transformative storytelling? Transformative storytelling.
It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Yeah.
And, how have you seen that being impacted? How have you done it, basically? Successfully? Sure.
It's an evolution. My question was, is my career schizophrenic?
Okay.
Am I a this or that? Was that? Changed my mind. Thought I was that. Maybe I did that. I was like, this doesn't make sense. If I look at my CV, artist, journalist, DJ, music producer, broadcaster, educator, manager, business owner, culture strategist, motivational speaker, and a few other things in between. It's like, he ain't serious. What is he? He's done all these things. Doesn't sound like he's really settled into anything. Yeah. You could stay in any one of those one lanes.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's the one thing that runs through all of it? What runs through all of it is storytelling. You're an artist, you tell a story on a canvas.
Okay.
If you're a DJ, you tell a story with the beats and the music.
Yep.
As a music producer, you have to tell the story of the artist you're recording. As an educator, you help to write the early chapters of a child and you co-write with them. As a broadcaster, you're broadcasting stories of people you talk to.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you're a storyteller. Cool. But then it's like, are you just telling stories for the sake. Why are you telling stories? And the why is the transformation.
Okay.
I want people to be better for sharing their stories and people better for hearing those stories.
Right.
And that ability to move people is the original power of our people. What was on the walls of caves, people were trying to explain something. Original African furniture had stories painted onto those furniture to explain things. The shape of the pyramids was a mathematical story to tell you about, Fibonacci sequence and rule of thirds and all of these structures. So we don't just tell stories for pasa and for banter. Stories should entertain, but should also educate.
Yes.
So my mission is to be all of that. Engage you, make you laugh, make you think, make you feel, make you care, but move you from point A to point B. And the second point is a quantum point. So the stories are supposed to evoke you into action.
Wonderful.
Not feeling for the sake of feeling. This whole Netflix culture where there's more shows than there is life. So we will be passive by participating in the watching. But a story and the best ones, if you ever been with someone and they're so intoxicating and you're on a date, they're saying something, you just kiss them halfway through what they're saying, like you just
Never been there, but hey.
want to kiss them, like right? Like I want stories to do that.
Yeah.
I want someone to be like,
Just act,
rah. So a man could be, charm man. And walk out the door, they literally just leave.
He'll be back.
That's what winning looks like. I'll be so gassed if I could do that. That's what I'm working towards. I would love to be in a lecture hall and say something about how you could change your life and everyone just got up and did it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we can over egg it. And what happens is the energy returns to us. And the speaker becomes deified. They become the embodiment of change. And you're like, well, I can't be like him. I can't be like her. And we smooth over our flaws and cracks to make ourselves appear greater than what we are. And we take away from people.
Yeah.
When in the post-Diddy era, we're beginning to realize there was something in there inherently wrong with our behaviors in the 90s and the noughties. And people turned a blind eye because we was winning, but we were also losing. We're losing our humanity. We're losing our care. Losing our love for women, losing our love for our sovereignty and our decency and our standards in pursuit of the bag. We got the bag, and we got all the dirt and mess that was in the bag as well. So the stories have to transform people, and part of transformation is repentance as well. How do we get back? When I was on my face, how did I get back up?
Yeah.
The best stories are the ones where you fall down and you find a way to get back up.
Unfortunately, that's the stories that people like, though. That's the stories that people like. That's the stories that people literally sit up and listen to.
Because that's the bit we need. It's the bitter. But we also, I almost feel like we need the bitter as the antidote to the sweet. We get sick.
Of course.
You say, of course. But this is the flaw. We get sick and we look for medicine. But if you treat all the things in life that are good for you as food, you will never need medicine. So what we want is a story of repentance so we can go back to the madness. We just want enough grace to get back into the thing.
Yeah.
The thing was never the thing. Peace, love, unity, having fun. That's hip hop. Doesn't sound like hip hop.
Yeah.
Hip hop comes from war. It comes from conflict. It comes from economic decline. It comes from neglect. But as soon as the industry got its claws on the culture, it became about exploitation again.
Yeah.
And then we can't remember what it was always about. So I'm like, this isn't the antidote. This is the truth. And you can sweeten the truth, but it must always be the truth. We like the sweetness and we need enough truth to keep going.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I don't like the stories that don't transform things.
Really great stuff. Godwin.
Interesting. So that was really powerful. So I think one of the questions, because obviously Jay asked 2 questions, which was how have you seen sort of the transformative storytelling that you've been doing? How have you seen that impacted on people?
In many ways, I think in a personal way, I've gone to a corporate space and I've been paid handsomely to come to talk to a corporation during Black History Month. I'll take the check. I'd rather the check extended beyond October.
Yeah.
I think I'm good any season. Any season, I'm good.
Season, but we know that
Black
Black History
History,
Month should be longer than
Yeah, but I'll
month.
take it. And I went in there, majority, white employees, different cultures. And I did a workshop presentation. It went down a treat. And one guy comes up to me at the end, black guy, and goes, "Can I talk to you?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course you can." And he goes, "Can I just ask you what?" He goes, how can you be so comfortable talking to all those people with your hair like this? And I was like, was my company and they've asked me to come in. This is how I roll. Yeah. So you're gonna get me, and this doesn't make me any better, but it's quite nice. It's quite tidy. It's not messy here.
Yeah.
And it blew his mind. And I said to him, you know what? I get it. You're new here. You're probably trying to fit in. So I said to him, take my card. And the thing that he did is what people fail to do. Is he called. Most people just want a little touch point. But he actually wanted transformation.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So he came to the coffee shop where I do my BMT events, and he sat down with me and he just confessed. He goes, when I got the job, I take my hair out. My parents telling me, just try and fit in. I was like, I remember that narrative.
Yeah.
Don't be yourself. Be what they need you to be.
Yeah.
You'll get the
We've
job.
all been there.
Right, 100%.
We've all been there. I used to rock my big fro. And then when I went to work in the corporate environment, I had to put it up in one because I wanted to fit in.
Sadly, I had no hair, guys. I had no hair for a long time. So I can't relate to this story.
But you had a virtual afro.
No,
you had in your mind. You walked in. Yeah.
Imaginative.
In your mind, the afro.
No,
And,
but it's powerful what you're saying.
he just said, I've been trying to fit in. I said to him, you know what? Walk your walk. I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you you are enough, and it is what you do, is how you do it. And, we can figure out how to achieve that. You don't necessarily come in and try and tear the system down, but don't let the system tear you down. It's a negotiation. Forward the motion, past negotiable. Cool. Didn't see him for a minute. And he called me up one day and said, can I meet you again? I said, cool. What's going on? He had his hair all braided. His hair looked amazing. I was like, wow. So he did it. He goes, yeah. And I left. And I'm at another company. Oh, wow. And I'm really happy there. And I'm doing my thing. I said, great. But the main thing was, he was like, and I want to come to your events. I want to know more about your brand. So I'd see him at every event. He'd buy his ticket. Oh, wow. And I looked at this guy thinking, this is reciprocity. Yeah. This is what we're missing. I gave him the blessing in my own free time, and he returned the blessing by investing in the experiences. Yeah. And guess what? On Wednesday, he launches his own night.
Oh, brilliant.
So he's taken over our culture hub. He has a night called First Chance, and it's about chanting for talent. Yeah. Oh, wow. And he's in tech. That's where I met him. Oh, wow. And he's there designing an app where you can vote for who you want using his app, and you could give money if you perform. Yeah. And I thought you were amazing. I could send you the money direct. Brilliant. And I was like, that's what it looks like to me. Yeah. Yeah, it's just exponential love, exponential care. And the key word for me that's changing my life is reciprocity. Yeah. Because this giving is a leaking and a leeching, because we're subtracting from what we have. If you pour into me and my mum pours into me and I take energy from the Most High, I'm human. And if I keep giving it, I'll be empty. Yeah. So what replenishes you? It's the return for when you give to others. Yeah. And a lot of people think, my mentor don't need nothing. Your mentor might be having health problems. Your mentor might be lonely. Your mentor might need your knowledge from where you've gone. He or she or they might need you to speak their name in a room so their name resonates and can resurrect a conversation. You know Godwin. I didn't know you knew Godwin. That's crazy. I haven't spoken to Godwin for ages. I should give him a call just by evoking a name. Yeah. This is how deities live. Yeshua or Ashu or Vishnu. as soon as people stop saying their names, they cease to be gods.
Yeah.
God is a German name. It's a Germanic name. It's the Germanic evocation of our ancients. So, people on a very basic human level, say the name of the people who helped you in your life, man.
Yeah.
Why can't you? You're afraid that if I'm a rapper and then my man helped me and I discover his Spotify, I'll stop listening to...
Yes.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
This is what people are afraid of. That's an insecurity that afflicts all of us. I get it. There's a couple of cats that I roll with. My guy Wisdom, he's a brilliant compere. Ruben's a brilliant compere. And we are different, but we are all great at what we do.
Yeah.
And when Wisdom left his gig and mentioned my name, and then people came to me and they hired me, I did it my way. But by him doing that, I got to pay homage to him because he inspired me to keep the conversation open. And Ruben's doing great. And we have to go, you know what? If you win, I can't lose.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I can only lose if you win and you don't
Pour back.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, if you want to talk about changing the narrative,
we
are brilliant at winning.
Yeah.
Individually.
Yes, and this is what I said at the start.
But it means nothing. The old African proverb, to go far, go alone.
Go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's go quickly,
You need to go quick,
go
go
alone.
alone.
To go far, you go together.
Exactly.
And we will not go far
That's
unless we
important.
actually start to understand what our collective strength is.
Yeah.
I'm going to round it up. And you've given us so much really, really, really interesting points. Fantastic journey. But not only has it been a journey for yourself, it's brought in so many people.
Okay.
So many walks of life.
Yeah.
And not only have you brought yourself up, but you brought them on the journey, including myself.
Absolutely.
Too. So, thank you for that. And thank you for what you've done. Before we close, though, I wanted to ask you one question. What do you think at the moment for you personally is a trend that has helped you in delivering your messages to a wider audience? It's a trend, maybe something in
I don't know. Trends are funny. I'm not. I think I'm post-trend.
Yeah,
I
post-trend.
don't think any trends are coming towards me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's helped me deliver a message? This has helped me deliver my message. Like watching people like Godwin, watching people like Jay, not just be excellent in their primary craft. I got to end this by giving you your flowers primarily. I'm getting to know Godwin, but I definitely can vouch for my journey with you. And I remember one of the early conversations we met at an event, and I want to patronize your brand because I loved your energy and I loved the product, and I bought off you. That was the first bit of reciprocity to show love through action. Bought the garments, found out you were working down the road from where I was working, and we'd come and kick it. And I'd always bring people to the shop. I'd always post up content. And then eventually I kept on buying and wearing your stuff at events. And the reason why I'm saying all of this backstory is because I don't know 100% exactly why you began African Chica. But I know you had to become not just a proprietor of a shop, but you had to put a lot of brands on your back. There were a lot of people who were supposed to be in that shop, supposed to be with you, supposed to be grinding with you, but you didn't quit. You pushed past. And now look at you. You've got the shop in Croydon and you put more on your back. You're back stronger. And it's the fact that you can be a brand and a broadcaster that excites me. Whatever I'm doing, I would always come and do your podcast because I know that this is hard earned. And the people who are going to listen to this, they are the kind of people that I would love to talk to. And you've introduced me to your audience and they believe in both of you. And we're building family. That's what's up.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you for paying homage to the brand and to me as well. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Godwin?
Well, I just wanted to give you a quick thanks as well for coming on. This has been a riveting and interesting
Very.
conversation, and also offered a lot of perspectives as well. Talking about our purpose, transformative storytelling as well, and just key nuggets for you guys. But just taking time out of your day. And oftentimes it's easy for us to say, oh, we want to do a podcast, come on. And we also have people that are like, yeah, we'll definitely come on. But it's obviously time out of your day, and we definitely appreciate you taking that time to come and share.
I'm honoured, man. And I feel like I know you better. I think there's a photograph of us in New Cross with our eyebrows slit and we're wearing our jeans. I've got baggy jeans. I've got one leg rolled up. We probably even know we were both in the same photo.
with no hair.
Yeah. Do you you call it a blue borough, right? Blue borough. Yeah. Tony Bones. Like there's certain mans from ends. I've done a lot of shows in New Cross, you know. Seriously. That was my borough. Like there's a catchphrase I use, which is always like levels, like level 1, level 5, level 10. And the first person I ever saw do that was in New Cross. I was in a pub and I saw the guy do that. I was like, oh, that's a vibe. And I was like, I never saw the brother again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, I kind of want to pay homage to him.
Yeah.
But also, you put your own signature on what you learn in life, man. And New Cross been good to me. So, yeah, shouts out Ends.
That's good.
Shouts out Tottenham, London to the world. And man, just all sorts from all walks of life. Yeah. Just let's all figure out what the commonality is, and let's go.
It's really good, like you coming on, and I think also as well, just to touch on as well, the work you're doing for BMT, because the first time I was there was the poetry night that you did, and it was quite interesting seeing people actually pour out their emotions. Some people were crying, and it was quite powerful how people were touched at that event, and it's rarely you see that. And, it's profound to be able to go to places and see that people are doing things. And I remember when we started this podcast, Jay was like, we have to get Fusion.
I was like,
we have to get Fusion on it. And I said to her, and as you mentioned by intention, and I said to her, all our episodes, we have to curate it. It's nice that we want people to come on, but we don't want to waste their time. We also don't want to waste people's time and just be like, we're just having an episode because X wants to come on. We have to make sure it's curated and it's done well, and it's also the topic is relevant to whatever field that person is in, so they can share their experience with the audience better than just having a conversation about anything. So yeah, as I said, it's lovely seeing you here again. And we look to see more of your work as well.
Obviously, Fusion, you've been very inspirational. You've helped me. Like you said, we met obviously via my brand. And obviously there was a part in my brand story that went very left. And BMT as an organisation took me from that stage where you talked about earlier, where you were like, why do I do this? And having that conversation with you made me realise at the beginning of the year that, what, I can't give up. And there's a purpose. There's a reason why I created the brand, and it impacted you, which is actually nice to know. Yeah. So I can only thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that. But also all the events that you curate via BMT have been amazing. Being part
you should check
of
it
that
out.
Has been absolutely brilliant. And people now we can go on to where we can find you.
Yeah, people need to check it out. So when he does the socials, make sure you check out the events.
The events are amazing.
I rarely go out, so if I'm recommending something, know that it's good.
Beautiful. That is the best recommendation. I don't need TripAdvisor. That is the best recommendation possible. If you want to know about BMT Culture Hub, you literally can Google search BMT Culture Hub. The Eventbrite comes up, and we only have a few more events this summer. We're taking a break, and then we're going to build the next level. So BMT Culture Hub on the Google search, you'll find us. We've got a book event coming up, Another Freedom is Like, and we have an event. I've not told anyone this yet, but at Kensington Palace.
Oh, wow.
So the BMT Culture Hub is collaborating with Kensington Palace. We're going to do a special experience there where people can come in, and we're going to be teaching skills, guest speakers, etc. And then for me, I would just say you could go to BMT Stories to find me. And I kind of would rather send people to BMT Stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if you go to BMT Stories, in the bio, you'll see my Instagram.
Okay.
And you can reach me. But anything we do is through the platform, and I'm sure on yours, links, you can put some links and stuff. But we out here.
So is it just Instagram? Are you on Twitter? Are you on TikTok? What platforms? What socials are you on?
I'd say Instagram is where you'll find us most time. We're TikToking a little bit. But But yeah, I would say mainly Instagram.
Okay.
And if you just look me up, Alain Fusion Clapham, you'll find some crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, there's so it's crazy.
Yeah.
Now we've literally touched the tip of the iceberg in terms of stories, but I've had many walks, many talks, TED Talks and different things. So type in Alain Fusion Clapham. That combination of three things will open up the universe of
Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Of fusion.
That part. Yeah, man.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So thank you once again for coming to see us today.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome and goodbye from Changing the Narrative. I'm Jay.
And I'm Godwin. See
And
you the
thank
next
you, Fusion.
Yeah, and we'll see you at the next one. Thank you.